It was November 3rd, just days before the biggest election of the decade. In the small town of Maple Ridge, the streets were lined with red, white, and blue decorations. The air was crisp with the chill of fall, and everyone was abuzz with excitement about the upcoming election. But not everyone was looking forward to it. Anna, a young investigative journalist, had been tasked with covering the local election. She wasn't particularly interested in politics, but there was something odd about the town's history when it came to elections. Every election since 1960 had been marked by a tragic death. It was a pattern that unsettled her, and she couldn't help but be curious. First, she rolled her eyes. Ghost stories were just folklore, right? But the deeper she dug, the more troubling the details became. Every year, just before the polls closed, a strange cold wind would blow through the town hall. People would hear whispers, names they didn't recognize or sometimes their own. And then, just after the whispers started, someone would mysteriously die. It was always someone involved with the election, an older person usually. They'd collapse suddenly, as if their life force had been drained. Anna, always the skeptic, laughed it off. She figured it was just a bunch of superstition, maybe a way for the townsfolk to explain away natural occurrences. But something about the way they spoke of it made her second-guess her beliefs. They weren't just afraid of the election. They were afraid of something that seemed to hang over the town like a curse. Election night arrived, and Anna found herself at the town hall, notebook in hand, ready to cover the event. But there was a strange energy in the air that night, a tension she couldn't shake. The building was filled with the excited chatter of voters, casting their ballots, preparing for the results. Anna glanced around the room, trying to keep her mind on the job, but the air felt off. Something was wrong. By 8 p.m., when the polls were set to close, the temperature dropped. It wasn't just the fall chill. It was a sudden, unnatural cold. The lights above her flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. She told herself it was nothing, a power surge, maybe. But as the minutes passed, the unease in the room grew. And then, she heard it. A whisper, soft at first, barely audible but unmistakable. Anna, her heart skipped a beat. She spun around, but no one was nearby. Just the normal crowd. She brushed it off as nerves, but then, it came again, louder this time. Anna, come closer. The whispers were coming from all directions, pulling her, urging her to move toward the voting booth. Her feet moved almost against her will, as though some unseen force was guiding her. Despite every instinct telling her to run, Anna felt herself drawn to the booth. She couldn't stop herself. She reached out to touch the cold metal of the voting booth, and the room fell into an eerie silence. The cold grew colder. The lights flickered again, and everything went dark. And then she saw it. A figure, pale and ethereal, appeared before her. At first, it was just a shadow in the darkness. But as it moved closer, Anna could see the woman's features. She was draped in a flowing white gown, her face twisted in agony. Her eyes, hollow and black, locked onto Anna's. "Maeve?" Anna whispered, her voice trembling with fear. The woman's lips parted, and a cold, mournful voice echoed in the darkness. "You should never have come here, Anna." Anna's breath caught in her throat. She recognized the name, Maeve Grant, the woman who had disappeared on election night in 1960, never to be seen again. "The election, it was never meant for you," the ghost whispered. Suddenly, everything around Anna seemed to warp. The walls of the town hall closed in, the people around her melting into shadowy, distorted figures. She could hear the whispers now, louder than ever, as if they were inside her head. "Maeve, what's happening?" Anna choked out, but the words seemed to get lost in the chaos. The ghost reached out with a trembling hand, her bony fingers brushing Anna's arm. A wave of ice shot through her body, and everything went black for a moment. When her vision returned, she was no longer alone. The room was full of people, voters, but their eyes were empty, hollow. "Do you know the truth, Anna?" Maeve's voice asked from the shadows. The election, it was never about politics. It was a ritual. Anna's heart pounded in her chest. "A ritual?" Maeve's figure flickered again, her face contorting with rage. I was meant to change history to shape the future. But they erased me, buried me. Every election, the souls of those who vote are harvested to keep the ritual alive. A chilling realization crept over Anna. The deaths, the cold wind, the whispers, it was all part of the ritual. The election wasn't just about casting a vote. It was about ensuring the dead stayed dead. And the curse continued. Suddenly, the air shifted again. The crowd, those soulless figures, began to move toward her. Their eyes glowed an eerie, unnatural light, fixed on Anna like predators stalking their prey. Her legs were frozen, her body unable to move. Maeve stepped closer, her mouth curving into a sinister smile. "Join us, Anna," the ghost whispered, her voice dripping with malice. "Vote, or you will become one of us." The room began to spin. The whispers grew louder, the shadows deeper. Anna tried to scream, but her voice was lost in the oppressive atmosphere. But then she understood. The election wasn't about choosing a leader. It was a sacrifice made every year, ensuring the curse continued and that the dead stayed alive. Trapped in the town, waiting for the next election to claim more souls. The ground beneath her feet began to shake. The walls warped, and the lights buzzed. The shadows closed in, and one by one, the figures surrounded her. And in that moment, Anna realized there was no escape. She wasn't just a journalist. She was part of the ritual now, caught in the twisted cycle of death and election, destined to become one of the town's lost souls. Another spirit trapped in the town hall, waiting for the next election night to arrive. And as the votes were counted, Anna's name was lost to history. Just another victim of the election. The town of Maple Ridge was cursed, and the curse would never end.